are showcasing Brainerd. And today we have Bobby Lewis here from Bobby's Kitchen. Mary, do you want to say anything?
Well, just to say that we try to have businesses large and small on Showcase Brainerd because we're proud of all of them and grateful for the fact that they do business here. Bobby's Kitchen is very, very popular. We know that. And so tonight everyone will get a chance to meet her and hear all about it. So we're so glad to have you, Bobby.
And these over.
Oh, wonderful. Oh, takeout menus.
Get some idea of what kind of food I have.
Thank you.
No, I didn't bring any samples.
Thank you.
Mind? Yeah, closer to
Closer?
the mic. But Jeff will help you here.
Okay. My name is Bobby Lewis, and I'm the owner of Bobby's Kitchen, and I've been there for 9.5 years now. And we have, well, maybe I'll tell you a little bit about myself first. I've been in the restaurant business for about 50 years and worked at a number of restaurants here in Brainerd before I decided to go out on my own. And that's including Country Kitchen and Magic Skillet and what's the other? Front Street, and out on South Long Lake, where I lived for a number of years. I worked at Paradise Point Resort and Lakeside Resort. So I've got quite a bit of experience. I came from Minneapolis and worked down there for many years. And I raised 5 kids, and I decided after I got them all raised that my main goal in life was to have my own restaurant. So the opportunity came up for Lou's, and it was a challenge. It was a real challenge. It had been closed for over a year, and I thought we'd be able to just go in there and a couple of weeks we'd be open, but it was like 7 weeks before we got it open. But it's fun. I love it. I love the customers. I love the area here. I cater to my customers. I have some that have had bariatric surgeries, and I don't make anybody stick to the menu. They can order anything they want and I'll cook it as long as I've got the ingredients. And also, we have had a new group start this year, which come every morning for breakfast and coffee and spend anywhere from an hour to 3 hours. And what it is widows and widowers. And most of them have met each other right there. You know, and it's the type of place, it's very homey. I think so anyway. Everybody else does too. A lot of laughter, a lot of, everybody's so friendly. And once you come in, you meet a number of other customers because everybody visits and talks. And so our food mainly consists of what they call comfort food. I make everything homemade. My soups are all homemade. My chili. I bake my own cinnamon rolls, or caramel rolls, I should say. Cinnamon ones didn't quite sell like the caramel ones do. And my own coffee cake and other cakes, too. Like right now I have a banana cake in there that I made, and carrot cakes, and I tried pies for a while. Those didn't go as good. And I think mainly because we do close at 2 in the afternoon. I think pies are more of an afternoon thing. We have real mashed potatoes. We have fresh hamburger that we make our hamburgers out of. And I'm in there every morning at about 4:30, 5 o'clock. So, and I'm the only cook right now. I cut down to myself, so I work 7 days a week. We're open 7 days a week, Sunday through Saturday. And what else can I tell you?
I have one question.
Yes.
Can you tell the audience where you're located, or the people in
South 6th Street.
Okay.
Right across from Super America.
Yeah, I knew, but I just...
Yeah, right on the corner there.
Okay, thanks.
And the building's been there for, I believe his name was Rao that built that building in 1953.
And he served on the Brainerd Council
Oh, did he really?
for about 10 years. In fact, when I was on the council the first time, Marv Rao was a member of the, you must have known him too, Mr. Mayor. Yeah, Marv Rao was a member of the Brainerd
He
Council.
built it, and he built it very well. You know, it's getting to be an older building, and we've put, you know, quite a bit of work into it. There's more to be done. But the only problems I've run into is like with the water line being underneath the cement floor and having that deteriorate and having to run the water line differently.
Do you work alone, or do you have someone help?
No, I have my significant other, is what I call him. We've been together 20 years, but he's they're helping me. I call him my gopher, because he does my running for me. Oh, another thing too, our produce is all fresh from town here. I buy all of the fresh vegetables and everything right from either Super One or Cub. And the bread also comes right from town. So I have found I'd much rather have really fresh things in there. So, anyway, I don't know what else to say.
What do you have any plans for the future, or you want to stay the way it is, or expand?
I don't want to expand anything.
No.
I'm a believer in that you kind of stay with what's working. I've seen too many places expand, and then you have to hire on more help. And in that building, we'd have to put on a whole new kitchen. Oh, because what we have is one grill, and it's, you know, it's perfect for this size building. And it would be a big expense, I think. And at my age, I don't think I'm ready for that.
And what are the hours again?
Monday through Friday, we're open 6 to 2, and Saturday and Sunday, we're open 7 to 2.
What's the seating amount? How many?
There's about seating for 44, 45. That's counting the counter. Another thing I did, I don't know if anybody was in there before, but it used to be all booths in there when it was Lou's Dairy Way. And I took the booths out of the back of the building in the dining room there and put tables and chairs in. So it would be accessible for wheelchairs and for people that just couldn't sit in booths. You know, a lot of elderly people would much rather sit in a chair than in a booth. Plus, for bigger groups like Dave's family there, they've been in a few times, and we can push the tables together. And I was going to mention your son, too. I have to.
He's a regular.
He is a regular. Has been for 9 years. Mm-hmm. And he's now, what, 16?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
We call him the Pancake Boy.
He gets that from his dad.
He is the best behaved and the most polite. And when he would come in when he was little, like 7, 8 years old, he had all kinds of suggestions for me on what I could do. Like if somebody came in and bought 9 pancakes, could they get the 10th one free? Yeah, he's
always wheeling and dealing.
He's a great kid.
If somebody could eat 9 of those, I'll buy them the 10.
Yeah.
What is that, like this?
Well, yeah, but they're like this big.
Yeah, I
around.
know. I've had them. 2 is an awful lot.
Yeah, 2 is.
And they're the best pancakes in the area.
Absolutely.
Definitely.
Yeah.
And it's like my biscuits and gravy. People love that, and that's homemade. I put fry up my own sausage and put in there, and everything is, and that's a favorite. With our chicken dumpling soup, and we have.
You're making us hungry.
Also, I see you do takeout anytime, right?
Yes, and we're getting a lot of business now. I'm seeing more and more of it from the industrial park, and from BMC, and from the orthopedic clinic. And they can call ahead and just let me know what time they want it ready, and they'll send one person down to pick up everything.
Great.
And they can call in the morning and let me know what they want for lunch, and tell me what time.
I saw on the news the other evening, just shortly, 2 or 3 days ago, that the federal government has now passed a law where restaurants are going to have to put the number of calories on their menus beside the food, which strikes me as just ludicrous.
That is.
Do you have to do that?
No,
Oh,
I'm
thank
small
God.
enough. I'm a small enough business
All
that
right.
I won't have to do that.
Okay.
But that's like for the chain restaurants
Okay.
and those. Yeah, that would be another real expense.
Oh, isn't
And
it?
the government's really hard on small business.
I think places like yours are so valuable in a community.
And we get a lot of travelers too.
And I think
During the summer,
there'll always be a call for the homemade, the down-home touch that you provide. I think that's just so valuable.
I think so too, and I'm real pleased with it because it's turned into just what my dream always was that I would have.
Great.
Thank you.
Anybody else have
It's
any other
wonderful.
questions? Dave, you?
Did you take any of Ronan's suggestions?
I don't think so back then, but. Oh, yeah, now when he rides his bike by, if I happen to be outside, or sometimes he'll just come in the restaurant just to say hi to me.
Isn't that nice?
You know, and I have quite a few kids like that some of them were babies 7 years ago and they're growing up, and some of them I waited on at the skillet I was there for like 8 years.
Is it more fun to
and they're
have
growing
your
up
own?
and they're bringing their own kids.
Is it more fun to have your own than
Oh, yes. Oh, yes. Yeah, but I learned a lot.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, well, thank you.
Thank
Thank
you
you.
so much.
Thank you.
It was wonderful.
We can take a 3-minute break.
Okay.
Have to wait for the knock on the wall. So that we're on
It's pretty
TV.
high tech.
Okay. Welcome, everyone. Those in TV land and those are probably the smart ones since it's so cold out. Not saying you guys aren't smart, but you had to be. So, hope everyone had a nice Thanksgiving, and I guess we're ready to rock and roll, or at least do roll call.
Mayor Willeen?
Here.
Matten?
Here.
Pritchett.
Here.
Bevins.
Here.
Sheeler.
Here.
Orkenhagen.
Here.
Coe.
Here.
Parks.
Here. Will you please join us for the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, are there any changes to the agenda?
Motion to approve?
Second.
Any other discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Approved. The consent calendar. Is there any changes?
Move to approve.
Second.
No discussion? Okay, roll call.
Matten.
Yes.
Pritchett.
Yes.
Bevins.
Yes.
Sheeler.
Yes.
Orkenhagen.
Yes.
Coe.
Yes.
Parks.
Yes. Mr. Bevins.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Personal and Finance and I so move to approve the bills as presented.
Second.
Is there any other discussion? Roll call.
Matten.
Here.
Pritchett.
Yes.
Bevins.
Yes.
Sheeler.
Yes.
Orkenhagen.
Yep.
Coe.
Yes.
Parks.
Yes. Okay, now we have DPU to give us a presentation of their 2015 budget.
Putting any time constraints on? No, I'm just joking.
2 hours is all you get.
Well,
Okay,
we're
I can hold
politicians,
it to
so
that.
yeah, we probably should, right?
Well, thank you, Mr. President, members of council. My name is Don Samuelson. I'm currently the president of the commission. We also have with us Bill Ruley, who distinguishes himself by being the president of the state organization, the Minnesota Municipal Utilities Organization. So we have a lot of power here tonight. I think you have all received the booklet that has been developed by the staff. And first, let me say that what a privilege we have to have the crack staff, the Public Utilities Commission. They really know their job. They're conscientious. They're aware of the needs of the citizens of our community, and they just do an outstanding job for us. And they're here tonight to answer any questions about the budget that they crafted. The commission voted on the budget on Tuesday, and unanimously, incidentally. And I think that you'll find it's in good order. And here to answer any questions is Todd Wicklund, who handles the operating budget, and Scott Magnuson, who handles the capital budget. The capital budget is a 5-year proposal, sort of a wish list of what we'd like to do. We don't always get everything done, but it's a goal. And I suppose the same can be said of any budget. It's a goal, and you try to adhere to it as best you can. With that, maybe Todd would like to answer any questions or explain any part of the budget.
I understand that you didn't get your statements till today. So what I was going to do tonight is just briefly go through the operating part of it. Maybe take 5-6 minutes just to walk through some of the graphs and things, and then if Scott could mention a couple things related to the capital budget, and then we can go from there. So
Are you looking at page 10 then for the operating budget?
almost. I was going to start with page 7.
Oh, all right.
So it's a little bit different this year. I just did a few graphs at the front of each section, kind of, and then at the back there's a lot of more detailed graphs. But page 7 is kind of a 5-year look at the whole utility, where the revenue and expenses have been. And the 2015 budget, which is the far right column, the revenues are projected to be 3.5% higher than they were, that we're thinking here at the end of 2014. And our expenses are actually 4.9% higher than they are in 2014. And so that kind of just gives you the overview there. The detail for that page, if you wanted to go drill deeper, is on page 19 and 20, if you just wanted to take a note there. Page 8 is kind of in the numerical format, the same information, a summarized version here. The 3 years of actual this year, and then the far right column is the budget column. And the one thing I wanted to point out on this page is the very last line, the change in net position. It basically shows in the very first column, 2011, that we had a net loss of approximately $1.6 million. And over time, that number has gotten better. And the budgeted number for 2015 is a net loss of $83,000. So it's an improvement of about $1.6 million during this period of time.
Do you want us to ask questions as he goes along, or wait until the end?
Wait until the end.
Okay.
Page 9 is just the electric department. I wasn't going to look at that. Page 10 is the page that has basically our electric department consists of two divisions. One is generation and the other is distribution. And what this thing has got a lot of columns in it, lots of small numbers. But what I'm showing here is the 2014 operations. And these are actual numbers through October, and then they're just projected to the end of the year. And then comparing that to our 2014 budget. And then the far left columns are distribution, which we've been operating for a long, long time. The center group of columns is generation. That's related to the hydro. And then the far right columns then is a combination of both of those divisions. For reporting purposes, for debt service purposes and things, they treat both of these things as just electric department. That's why you'll kind of see them on the same page where they're totaled together. They don't treat distribution as a separate type of department and generation as a separate type of thing for auditing purposes and for reporting to Moody's and things. They just want to see a combined thing. And so that's what this page is showing, is the combination of those two divisions. The next page is just going back a couple pages, page 13. Page 13 is the information related to the water department. And the water department here on page 13, the blue line being the revenues, and then the red line or tan line, there being the expenses. And for all of the years except for the first year, the blue line has been greater than the red line. That's a good thing in an enterprise fund like what we operate at the utility. And the detail for these are also then found in the back if you wanted to look at a lot of detail. The last one I wanted to show you is page 16. This is the wastewater treatment operation. Same thing, blue line's revenue, kind of the tan line there is the expenses. And this is just kind of the opposite, where expenses are larger than the revenues. And that's primarily driven by, we have a significant depreciation expense in this fund with the new treatment plant online. And so basically, each year we have, $1.6 million in depreciation in that department. And so you take that into account, it probably goes the other way a little bit in the treatment department. Okay, that's just kind of the brief summary on that. And, if you have questions, fine. And then if not, Scott will come up and try to talk a little bit maybe about the capital budget, and then we can maybe answer questions. So,
Mary, did you have some questions?
Yes, I was interested in the,
Page.
well, I'm not sure. I think it's page 8.
page 8.
The purchased, maybe it's 10, the amount that we pay MP&L, and it's in here somewhere. So when I did, I had so many notes.
Is that on page 10? kind of in the middle.
So page 8 also has it in the middle.
Purchased.
Purchase power, yeah. This is personnel services, but I'm, purchase services, but you do have a purchase power in here on one of the pages.
Page 10, up near the top there.
Okay, here it is, yep. And is this what we are purchasing from MP&L?
That's right.
Okay, so you are projecting that out a little bit, but,
Yeah, as we speak, as you know, we're continuing. We have basically about a 4.5-year time left in a contract with Minnesota Power. We have started discussions with them of reworking the current contract, and so that's right now. That's our best estimate of what that cost number. It's usually on July. At the end of May, we find out what our rates are going to be for the next fiscal year. So we don't get a lot of lead time, and it doesn't match up to our calendar year type of thing. So it's half of MP's rates are going 1 year, and and then it's the next 6 months, and so it kind of overlaps. Not exactly with how what we would normally would hope to be, but it's close. We've been experiencing anywhere from 6.5% to about 8% rate increases with them over the years, and so.
So when you sign the contract, a multi-year contract, is there anything in that would give you any leverage relative to the rates, or does the contract just kind of open-ended and say, here it is, whatever we say, you'll pay?
Yeah, right now what happened is about 5, 6, 7 years ago, all the big, large utilities went away. IOUs, which are investor-owned utilities, went to the method they call formula rate contracts. And basically, by going to formula rate, they don't have to come before the Federal Energy Commission each year to do a rate adjustment. It's based on a cost basis. It's different than it was in the old days. And so in the last few years, the one thing has been there's been tens of hundreds of millions of dollars spent on capital projects and wind farms and repairs and a lot of maintenance things to generators, and so those costs get rolled into the wholesale purchase price sooner than they do for the retail purchasers that the rest of the customers of like Minnesota Power have. And
what
so
people should realize is that those alternate energies are all being subsidized, and that subsidy is passed on to the ratepayers. So people should understand that. No free lunches.
It's by far, as you can see, that's somewhere 75% of our total cost is just one bill, and so it's a major concern for us to try to and they realize that things haven't worked out as well as they had hoped. They've worked out better for them the last few years, and so that's why we're attempting to work with them on a different format of a contract, getting away from formula rate.
What do you anticipate for the new generation of that sales tax that passed for revenue?
The revenue, well, I think the amount that we collect will probably stay the same on an annual basis. We're generating somewhere in the mid 850,000 a year. What it does give us is more options, length of time. The old bill was going to expire in the spring of 2019. That's been extended now, by the voters voting on it here a few weeks ago to 2037, I do believe. So it'll give us options, for other like water projects and things that may be coming down the road. But as for increase, at a yearly amount, I don't, unless we increase the retail basis, in Brainerd quite a bit, we will probably, maintain at this level for some time.
What does it cost us for that wastewater treatment? What is the actual? I presume it's in here, but we just got these.
You mean the annual debt service cost then?
Well,
Yeah.
and
Yep.
any cost you
Yeah,
have, not just debt service, but keeping it going.
Yeah, it's by far, the biggest operating expense over there is electricity. We have significant number of pumps, large pumps. We have these 4 large basins that they call them SBRs, and is we ranked our customers. You don't like to see it, but BPU is the 3rd largest customer. Our own waste treatment plant is the 3rd biggest electric user in the city, and it's just the nature of processing this wastewater nowadays, and it's our cost for electricity over there is approaching about $500,000 a year, and so we're looking at trying other options of peak shaving and some things like that to help try to shave the peaks.
Is the treatment center, it isn't paid off, the new treatment plant?
Right. No, we have, I think that was a 20-year bond that we issued. I think 2028 is the final payment if payments go out to the
And
end.
how much about are they annual?
The total payment is about $1.8 million a year. With the agreement we have with the city of Baxter, they fund a third of that. So Brainerd's share of it is about $1.2 million. And, that comes from a combination of the sales tax part of it and then the part that we got on our bill that's called the debt service charge. So the combination of those two, make up the $1.2 million that, Brainerd's responsible for.
And that's all in here as if we go through it.
Well, this is an operating budget. It would just have the interest and things in there. I've got a schedule that I keep track of the detail just between the 2 cities and the debt service payment that may be of interest to you. That's not part of the operating budget. So
We'll go through it. Thank
okay,
you.
all right.
Are there other questions? Okay.
Thank you. I'll run through the capital budget for us. We'll start on page 1. In your booklets there. The overall, all 5 departments we have now. We gained 1 this past year. Overall, $2.297 million. We're down a little over 5% from last year if we take the hydro number out of there. Comparing the 4 from last year to 4 this year. So, on to page 2, the electric department. Couple of the big numbers in there, the distribution system improvements, that's maintenance and upgrades to the entire system. Concentrating in Northeast again next summer. So, system distribution transformers, that'd be just like a new one if there's a new business going in or someone changes their voltage and need a new transformer. Transformer blows up, that's kind of our stock number there. Big number down on the bottom there, the digger derrick. That is replacing an older one. That's basically our crane also picks up our transformers, our pad mounts, hauls them to big 3-phase for the commercial accounts. It also has the auger on it for drilling and setting power poles, so a vital piece of equipment. One big thing in there, safety equipment. With the new OSHA rules, fall protection and arc flash, we're going to be spending a pretty good chunk of change on safety equipment for the crews this year. Page 3, water department. Production system improvements, not a lot there. This summer we upgraded all 4 or 5 wells. New pumps, cleaned out the screens. All got new VFD motors. So we about doubled the production and with about 20% less electricity. So a very good improvement for us down there. Filter bed improvements under filtration. We've got the old style beds. We've got 2 beds where we put the old blocks out and redid it with 1 monopore of concrete. So we kind of put that number in there. I hate to knock on wood, but we're losing a bed about every other year. So it's kind of a safety number in there for us. $60,000 we put in there for chlorination equipment. Little things, sidewalk repairs down there, just some upkeep maintenance. The distribution system, gate valves, hydrants that need to be replaced. Trucks and vehicles, We need a new backhoe, another vital piece of equipment for the water crew. Use it all the time, digging in services. Also used for moving snow around in the winter. So we put some placeholders out in 2016, 2017 for some water tower, a new water tower in the south system, maybe some new ground reservoir storages at the water plant. We have an old concrete one back from the early 1900s. It's still there, and then our newer one from the 70s has lead paint on it. So they're nothing that necessarily has to be done, but we're thinking it would be a good upgrade. See how things go for those two. Page 4 is the wastewater. Big number, one of the issues in there, the wastewater treatment plant. We've got 50 grand in there for some sludge recirculating pumps. We tried to get away with using the original ones when they redid the treatment plant, but they're just not big enough to move the stuff around. So we're probably going to have to replace those. We're also going to need to purchase one bank of UV bulbs. Those are the ultraviolet last line of defense. As the water goes just before the river, it goes through the ultraviolet bulbs. It disinfects it. So they say 25,000 hours. You'll think about replacing them. So we're going to replace one bank next year. Lift station improvements down there towards the bottom, $125,000. That's 15 lift stations we have. If it's a new pump or a new motor or a new grinder somewhere, that's what that money's in there for. The new one, the hydro department. Not a lot of stuff on here. We're going to do a little painting, a little interior painting. We're going to paint all the rails on the outside of the building. At some point, we're going to do the outside of the actual building, but it's window work and a bigger ball game. So it's not even on here yet. Equipment, fuses, stocking, backup parts. We kind of went through. There's a lot of fuses in there, different size fuses. So they got a pretty good stock of stuff from that we got from Wausau when we bought it, but went through and made some lists of stuff that we need just to have backups in case we lose a generator. We can get it right back online right away. So. A mid-size pickup I have on there. We probably buy a used one for them. They're going to take an old truck from Central with a plow on it for now and let them run that until that no longer works. I'll have to replace it with just a compact pickup. Improvements to the dam structure. One thing they wanted, Todd asked him last summer, and the one guy said he would like to have the decking replaced. I'm not sure who's been up there, but as you walk across the dam, it has those old wooden planks. They're getting a little rotted, and like in the winter, they're slippery, and you got to shovel them. So we're going to put some grading in there with the holes in it, so the snow falls through, and then it's not slippery. So. Admin department, 75 grand for AMRs. Computer systems, we got a server and we need 12 PCs we've got. And then we're due for a new printer. 15 grand's worth. So.
What is AMR?
Automatic meters, meter readers.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
Like turtle
Yep.
kind of thing.
Yep. We're about 80%, give or take, done with that project, but it's ongoing. I mean, we're getting to the point now where some of it's maybe even technology is changing again on us.
Are you pretty much
Yep.
done? Okay, then go ahead, Gary.
And then I was just going to ask you, what is your total budget? I mean, was it like 20-some million? I'm trying to think, what is the total dollars? Is about 20?
Combined?
Yeah, everything together that you guys handle down there. That was like 24, 25 million, somewhere in there.
Yeah, if you turn to page 7, we're basically at $24.6 million organization, business.
Okay.
And expenses are about the same there on page 7. The capital budget is a separate item there. That was the $2 million plus Scott talked about.
hand a lot of dollars.
Mary?
Yeah, Mr. Chair, on page 2, you have some money in for conversion to energy-efficient street lighting.
Yep.
Now, is it the goal that eventually to go to perhaps LED lighting or what?
Yep, we've started with the 150 watt replacement, which are our security style, we call them, to be the ones that are on an existing wood pole. There's some in southeast and northeast, but it's also what we do if someone wants to buy a security light from us. We went through a lot of vendors, a lot of demos and whatnot. So we found a good one of those. We probably got only 20 out in the field so far. We're not buying any replacements for those. Eventually, we'll get to the 200 watt Cobra heads.
What will 20,000 buy you?
The 150 watt replacement, the price came down to where it's like $5 more than the regular 150 watt HPS.
But how many blocks or,
How many blocks?
yeah, of lighting?
I don't know. $200 a light, maybe.
Well, not so much.
Fair amount. We've got LEDs also in these globes. Everything west of 6th Street has been replaced, and they're working on these ones east of that as they go. More uniform, every light.
And then on page, it's kind of on 5. On 5, you are discussion of the hydro department. And I didn't see specifically identified, unless it's identified in language I don't understand. But I thought there was a goal of putting in automation at the hydro dam so that eventually there will be only a need for perhaps 2 personnel out there. And unless it's somewhere that I'm not understanding it, I don't see it. Is there anything in this budget for automation?
No.
Okay, so that isn't in there. Okay, and then throughout it, and I just got mine tonight.
I think another point, though, is that it's part of some of the automation equipment we're talking about is not the real spendy stuff. It's included as part of what some of the bond proceeds that we still have left that was basically as part of the initial purchase here is to do some of the automation. The Geelys get a couple generators automated here, so that's not included in this budget, but it was included as part of our initial plan.
Because I believe we were originally told that perhaps within a year and a half, 2 years, would be automation out there, which would mean perhaps only 2 personnel. And then total, and we just got this, so I'm sure if I go through it, would find it. But perhaps you can tell me, what are the total number of new vehicles of any kind, whether it's a truck or whatever, to be included in this?
2.
budget? Just 2.
Maybe, depending on the trucks that they just got from a hand-me-down
Right.
that Hydro got.
Oh, they're fine.
There may be, that would be a used
Okay,
mid-size pickup.
thank you.
Yeah?
Yeah, Scott, can you just clarify one quick thing?
Yep.
On page 3, can you clarify then in 2016, the South System Water Tower, land acquisition that's for a new water tower?
Oh, your pages are different than mine. I apologize for that.
That's all right. It's 600,000 and then land acquisitions was 200,000.
Yes, that would be for the cell system.
To buy new land for a new water tower, just for clarification.
Yep.
And then you said we currently have 15 lift stations?
Yep.
And that on average is 100,000 to maintain them, but do you foresee us needing any in the future? And if so, what does that typically cost for lift stations?
Any additional lift stations? The only one I could foresee would be the airport.
Okay, but that would probably be
Extension.
covered in that project.
Yep.
Okay, thank you.
And that's development driven.
Sure,
So,
sure, okay, thank you.
Any other questions?
I'm a little confused in that. I thought that when we were at the meeting, the 600,000 was the water tower and the land, and we found that the new prices were coming in a little bit higher than this, and that's 600,000. So I think it included.
it's probably going to be higher than that. We
Yeah.
found that out after, and I'm thinking what that price was he had some money in there, and I haven't talked to him since.
Yeah,
But he had piping.
yeah,
You know, if we got to go a mile or 3 blocks to get to it.
Where
Off
are
of
you
ours.
looking to locate?
We haven't.
Is
We haven't
there-
even started. In the south system.
It
somewhere.
has to be in the south part of
Yep.
town?
Yep. Our south of Willow Street is kind of the break in our south pressure system and our non-pressurized system. It would be somewhere on that south system.
I see you've got chlorination equipment in there. I thought we weren't going to chlorinate.
We're not gonna.
Then why do
The-
we have
the-
60,000 in there?
The equipment that's in there now is old and outdated and in a very harsh environment. So we may upgrade that equipment.
So if you have to chlorinate,
Right.
you're
We'd be ready, yeah. Another thing is that with that, right now we only have one feed point that goes into both systems. Part of that $60,000 would put a feed point into the south system and a feed point into the north system. It would be better.
So
We'd be
there's-
better ready.
So there's more even chlorination instead of some areas having a lot more than others?
Yep.
Okay.
And we could, yeah, if there's a problem in one half, we would only have to do the half.
Okay.
Just out of curiosity, I'm wondering, could you grab a number as to kind of sort of what did the renovation of the downtown water tower that we experienced this summer, what's something like that cost?
Oh, 1.4, 1.2?
You mean
The repainting of the,
repaint.
yeah, 1.2?
920,000.
That was an inside and out,
Yeah,
total
right,
sandblast down to bare steel and some patches.
right.
Is there a guarantee or length, projected length as to how long that'll last?
That's the 10-year plan, that they'll come back each year, years 2, 3, 4, and 5, and inspect and touch up paint. Year 6, they do a pressure wash, inside and out, and inspection. And then years 7, 8, 9, they'll do the inspection and touch up. And then year 10, they do another pressure wash, complete pressure wash inside and out, and inspection, touch up paint.
Thank you.
But 20 years at least.
When they do that, the 5-year after, and they pressure wash, that obviously they drain everything and it becomes non-serviceable. How long does that take then to get it back up and running?
The biggest thing would be the waiting for the tests again.
Okay.
Fill it back up, put chlorine in it, fill it back up, let it sit for 24 hours. Take a test, wait 24 hours for the results. Get a good test, take another test, another 24 hours. Once they're
Couple of
done,
solid weeks.
yeah.
Okay.
Any other questions?
Did you guys have this on your agenda?
This was not on the.
No.
Mr. President?
Yep.
And I'm part of the council liaison, and I have to say they have done a wonderful job. And you've got to come to the meetings if you have nothing going on the fourth Tuesday of the month, because they do a great job. And this presentation was very well done down there. And with that, I would like to make a motion to approve this.
The question is, are we ready to vote on this, even though not everybody got the booklets?
I didn't get the book
Well,
till tonight.
there is a
I'm not
motion out
ready.
there. Is there a second?
Second,
Open for discussion?
Mr. Chair,
Yes.
I just had one more question, but Mr. Sheetal made the motion, I seconded it because it seems natural, but can you just give us a 5-minute update on the construction project with the spillway to the dam? Only because since that project has started, and now, I only know what I read in the paper, and it's hearsay from citizens. And is that project gonna get done this year, or?
I'll give you an update.
Yep, thank you.
They started late, high water, okay, which is good for making power. So they've got the spillway is broken in 2 pieces for construction. That probably didn't sound very good, but it's divided in half. So they're working on one half of that. They've got the top foot ground down, and the plan was to put a foot back in there with rebar in it for the chute blocks on top of that. And then they've got chute blocks in the spillway that comes down. So those are all done and poured on the east side. We're meeting with FERC is concerned now about because of the late start and the high water, their concern is getting it done by springtime. So they want us to look at maybe not completing the one side of the dam this winter yet, but get the slab back on there. I mean, it would be part of the project, but instead of trying to hurry and get the whole thing built up and maybe not get done, which would be not good, we had to start spilling water over that. So just get done what we need to get done to get it ready for spring. But what we do, obviously, would be part of the future project. So we're trying to get a phone call with them tomorrow or Wednesday to discuss our interim plan.
Is there still, there was a company that was going to put a test generator in?
Yep.
Is that still happening?
Yep. Got drawings from them a week or two ago
Okay.
from their engineer.
And then we'll have that for a year?
6 months.
6 months.
That's time.
Okay.
Their plan is to put it in as soon as the water is low enough to drain that turbine pit, and get in there and work. Come out and start. Not sure how long it'll take them.
And they're covering all the expenses of putting that in there? And we'll have access to all the information that
Yep.
we get from that?
We get the power. So 6 months trial period, and with the option to buy it. We do
The cost, if I may, the cost on that, if it works out well and we were to purchase that, is not inexpensive, is it?
No, it's not inexpensive. It'd be a reduced price, they tell us, but they haven't told us what that is.
Then the follow-up question would be, with this new turbine that they trialed for 6 months, would that generate enough additional electricity, whatever, over, say, a certain period of time to pay for the quite expensive purchase of
Yeah.
the reduced cost?
Yeah. And I don't have any numbers here,
That's
but
the theory.
they gave us a per kilowatt hour cost.
Okay.
I
That's
mean,
fine.
it was it's expensive.
One of the things related to those turbines that they're more efficient. They don't use as much of the water that's coming through the thing. And so one of the things is if you started replacing with these type of generators, you wouldn't have to have as many generators. And then there's the potential that you could generate more electricity. That's a discussion to have with FERC down the road, because we're limited to 3.3 megawatts of production there. But if you start putting generators in there that can generate more electricity with not using any more water, less water than the current one, it definitely will add to the payback on it. But those are big dollars. There's a lot of calculations. We don't even know if it will work yet.
Thank you.
And they have automation built in.
Are there any other questions?
Yeah, Mr.
Oh,
Chair.
Mary.
What is the total change to your budget?
Total change.
Yes, please, percentage-wise.
I took the hydro out of there, and it was 5% less.
In
So
what?
with
In
the-
operation, in revenue, in expenditure? What?
I don't
The
know.
total budget is 5% less? is
The
that-
capital budget. Sorry.
The capital budget?
Yep.
All right. And how about the operating?
The operating budget is 3.5% higher than 2014 actual numbers, and the revenues are 4.9% higher than 2014.
But even with the revenues, the cost is still 3.5% more. What's your, bottom line?
Yeah, the cost is basically, the difference between the revenue and the cost is about 1.3 or 4%.
Mr. Chair, I think most of us just got it tonight, and although Alderman Sheeler was at a meeting apparently this morning and heard it, I haven't, and until tonight, I haven't had a chance to go through it. And I can't support it. I don't like to vote against it, but I would have to, because I have not had the opportunity to go through it line by line, which really I think we should do. That's our job. I mean, this is big bucks. And so I don't think it's responsible to adopt it tonight. And I can't support it tonight. I think we should hold it for 2 weeks, and whether or not you all want to come back, maybe somebody should be here in 2 weeks, but it would give everybody the opportunity to review it and do their due diligence to the public. I can't support it.
Any other comments?
Yep, I have a comment. We got an email on Friday, Wednesday, I believe it was, that these were forgotten to be put in. And I said I would come and pick it up, and I think that gave us the option for all of us to come in and pick it up at our leisure. So I got the opportunity to go through it, and I appreciate it. I think it was very well done. And I guess my concern is to plant the seed that, you know, we did just get these. Yes, some of us may have just gotten these, but I do appreciate the fact that they were made available. We could pick them up at any point. I just wanted to clarify that when you say it's for us to do our due diligence, that not all of us didn't get a chance to get to go through them. So I do appreciate it. Just wanted to lay that out. Thanks.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I would speak in favor of strictly from the perspective, and I understand completely what Mrs. Cope says, and I support that. And if she deems it that she shouldn't support it, I understand exactly what she's coming from. On the other side of the coin, I mean, I think it's important to keep the public utilities rolling and have some continuity and to approve this budget this evening. If it is a budget, if for some reason we need to come back and adjust the filtration treatment filter bed improvements, I'm sure, and the City Council deems that that's necessary, I'm sure the Public Utilities Commission would be willing to look at it and adjust it if they feel it's necessary. So that understanding of what a budget is, I think this evening we can approve it with good conscience and then make adjustments throughout the year like we always do to our budget and if necessary, to the public utilities budget, operating our capital. As a matter of fact, I believe Mr. Magnuson has kind of implied that there's capital things that come up and go down throughout the course of the year and the 5 years, and those adjustments are made accordingly. So I would support the motion. It seems like a pretty solid budget from what I've seen.
And I would echo that, and I also want everybody to know, even like last year, an item that wasn't in the budget was the dam purchase, and how all year they came here and, you know, enlightened us and told us and kept us in tune of all the costs and everything with the dam. And, you know, so, you know, if there is something like Mr. Bevan said that's not in the budget, you always come to us anyway, so, and you've developed a great relationship with the council on that, so I'm going to approve it too, so thank you.
I think, Mr. Chair, that's missing the point, though. The point I'm making is that by approving it, we are in effect saying we understand it and we go along with what's being projected. I didn't know that it wasn't in the pack until very late on Wednesday afternoon. I had no chance to get back down here and get it. And this was a very busy day for me as well. So, once again, I don't think it's responsible to say, yeah, we like this, is good, go ahead with it, when we really haven't gone over it. And so, but that's...
Any other? Okay.
Roll call?
We can do roll call.
Sure.
Matten?
Yes.
Pritchett?
Yes.
Bevins?
Yes.
Sheeler?
Yes.
Borkenhagen?
Yes.
Cope?
No.
Parks?
Yes. Okay. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. Presentation from Region 5 Plus, Adult Mental Health Initiative Guidebook.
Good evening. I'm not going to ask you for money. My name is Jody Freiholtz London. I'm the executive director for an organization that's a nonprofit called Wellness in the Woods. And I thank you very much, Mr. Chair and council members, for allowing me to come and visit with you tonight. I'm representing Region 5 and the Adult Mental Health Initiative tonight and a project that we are doing in cooperation and partnership with them. I have lived all of my own almost 57 years in greater Minnesota, and I care very much about the people who live in our communities. We know that statistics tell us that 50% of the population in the United States will at some point in time in their lives deal with a mental illness. We know that in this room, at least 25% of the people sitting here tonight are dealing with some kind of a mental illness in their life. We know that the state of Minnesota has the highest rate of veteran suicide in the country. And we also know that the state of Minnesota is seeing the rate of suicides reaching almost 700 people annually. In response to that, the Adult Mental Health Initiative, which is made up of a number of board members, including the adult mental health supervisors from each county and tribal representatives as well from the 6 counties and the 2 tribes that border our initiative, know that during a needs assessment that was done, know that people do not seek mental health treatment for a number of reasons. The first one is because of the stigma that surrounds mental illness. The second one is because people don't know what the resources are. And so we're responding to that by printing 2,000 of these little booklets, as well as 100 of them in Spanish for the Todd County population. And Wellness in the Woods entered into a relationship with the Adult Mental Health Initiative the 1st of November and said, we're going to spend the next 2 months going to 48 presentations in 6 counties and 2 tribes and drag these little booklets with us. So that's why I'm here tonight. The booklet was actually not produced by myself, but by some folks just north of us, and we edited it so it could meet the needs of our region. So it's some real basic information that any layperson can understand about mental illness and how to support somebody who has a mental illness. We don't usually plan for a mental illness in our lives. As a matter of fact, I didn't. My life was really good, and I had 4 kids and a strong marriage and a good job, and in 2005, I got very, very ill. Now, the outcome of that was it gave me an experience to be able to support and empathize with other folks who are having that same kind of experience. And so when you know me as Jody, I want you to know that I make a car payment, I pay my taxes, I have a house payment, I shop at JCPenney's, I have a job, I have 24 grandkids. Those are the important things about me. The not so important thing is that I also deal with depression, and I just have to be aware of that, but I also deal with high blood pressure, and that's just part of who I am. So what we're hoping to do with this booklet is just pass them out to everybody who will possibly put them in their hands. I'm going to leave a number of copies here, and if you want any more in your faith community, law enforcement, I actually met with number 12 law enforcement officials the first week in November, and we met up in Pequot Lakes, and so some of your law enforcement leaders were there. And we're really reaching out to kind of beyond preaching to the choir, folks who may not know about these services and how to access them. We know that prevention is fiscally responsible and quality of life responsible. And I know for myself, I am extremely fortunate that I live in this part of the state because we have some of the best crisis and mental health services in the nation. If you look on on almost every page, there's a 1-800 number. We have a crisis line in this area that's manned 24/7 by volunteers. If somebody calls that crisis line any time of day or night, it's answered. And if they're having a mental health crisis, they can ask for a mental health professional to call them back. And no matter where they are, if they say that I am in danger, whether it's an emergency room with law enforcement or any other place, if it's deemed necessary, somebody from a mobile crisis outreach team will come and help them through that crisis within 30 minutes. There is no place else in the nation that has that kind of services. We want to see that rate of suicide go down. We want people to be happy and to be healthy because we don't plan on mental illness invading our lives. And so that's the project we're working on. We're halfway done with our 48 presentations. One of my coworkers actually up in Aiken this evening as well, talking to their city council. And we're just doing what we can to help people know that there's a service here should they actually have a mental health crisis in their life. I passed out some information with a few little, like there's a website on SAMHSA, which is the Substance Abuse and Mental Health Services Administration. But as leaders in your community, we want you to be able to talk about it as well. The more that it's a secret, the more people don't talk about it, and the more people we lose. And so making it okay to talk about is really what we're all about. I tell people, you can ask me anything except for how much I weigh. The rest of me is an open book, and I'm very happy to talk about it. I went through lots and lots of training, so I'm available to do training such as mental health first aid. We did that a couple weeks ago here in Brainerd. And what that is really all about is a one-day training as what are the basic diagnoses for mental health and how do you support somebody. We do some suicide prevention training. You can absolutely look on our website or talk to your local human services organization, and they will line you up with some folks who can come and do trainings. If you would like that in your faith community or any other group, we're more than anxious to come and talk to people about that. So, do you have any questions?
I have a question.
Yes.
It talks about adult mental health initiative. Is
Yes.
that 18 and over, or?
The Adult Mental Health Initiative is 18 and over. We are very fortunate in our communities, though. Last year, I believe it's about a year ago, the Mobile Crisis Outreach Team also serves 18 and younger now, which is really great. There are many, and I travel all over the state of Minnesota because Wellness in the Woods is really about. I worked in mental health for 30 years, and the last job that I had said, we want you in St. Paul, and I went, I'll live in Nimrod. And unfortunately, I have to remind the folks in St. Paul that there actually is someplace north of Anoka, which I do because I serve on the State Mental Health Advisory Council. I'm kind of mouthy that way. But nonetheless, we have needs. We need services around here, and so we are extremely fortunate that our Mobile Crisis Outreach Team also serves 18 and under. So we are really fortunate, really fortunate.
If I may, the reason, and I'm glad he brought it up, because within just north of here, within the last few months, we've lost two youngsters.
2 teenagers, yep,
And,
absolutely.
And the other comment you made was that roughly, if I heard you right, was that roughly 50% of people will, at some point in time, have mental issues.
Correct.
But
Correct.
You kind of narrowed it down to only 25% in this room, and I'm trying to figure out how you did that.
At any point in time, 25%. So if there's 25 people here, 6 1/4 of us are dealing with some kind of a mental health, emotional issue now. Within a lifetime, half of us will. And that could be something like, for example, depression because of a great loss in our life, some grieving, something like that. It doesn't have to be a long-term emotional illness, but at some point in time, for those of us who've experienced great losses, that can be just a situational depression, which can be just as real. The folks in Wadena who went through the trauma of that great loss with the tornado, there's a lot of folks who are really dealing with that trauma and that loss every single day. So right now, today, 25% of the people in this room in our population, over a lifetime, half of people. And I think that's low. I think it's probably higher than that just because we don't go and get help because we're tough. We're strong, we're hanging in there. Or we're self-medicating and we're drinking or using drugs or finding some other way to medicate that not feeling so good. And we don't always identify those because those are the folks who we might lose to something that's not classified as suicide. So I spend every waking moment thinking about my passion about saving people. And it breaks my heart to hear about those young people in Pequot Lakes. Absolutely. So I'm getting every possible training that I can and every chance I get to speak about how we can save people that we love. Been there, done that. I spent yesterday, sorry, I get a little emotional about this. I spent yesterday afternoon with 5 moms in Sauk Center who've all lost their sons. And that breaks my heart. And every time I hear about another loss, I say, what could have we done? What do we need to do yet? So thank you very much. Please don't hesitate to call. Yes.
Could you What was your name again?
My name is Jody Freiholz-Lunding. My contact information is on the bottom of the sheet. I'm at Wellness in the Woods. My phone number is there, and my email is there. There's some other really great resources just inside the front cover, some website resources. If you want more information, you can get it there. But what I try to do is if I don't have the training and the resources, I'll find it for you. Yes, sir.
One of the other things, and from my own experience, because of you're talking about drug abuse and stuff like that, that also and I don't think a lot of people realize, and I have a couple drugs that I take, for my own health reasons, and one of the things it talks about is the fact of what it might do mentally as far as giving you either depressions or, so I think anybody that takes any medication, read the fine print or read what it says on the bottle or on your prescription notice, because a lot of those, what you are taking, say, to cure a headache or something else, might also create a mental issue that you didn't expect to have happen to you.
Absolutely, absolutely. One thing that was discovered and has been identified a couple of years ago, people who have a serious mental illness, on the average, die 25 years younger than their peers. And one of the main reasons that happens is not suicide, but it's side effects of the medications they're taking that are supposed to help them stay well to start with. So absolutely, I agree with you. I'm not a real big med taker, but some things you got to do. And so thank you very much. Blessings, wonderful holiday to all of you.
Thank you very much. Okay, on to committee reports. Safety and Public Works Committee.
Thank you, Mr. President. We have 4 items, 3 posted, we added 1. Item number 1 will be the sanitary sewer collection system fee structure. We've had this on the agenda a couple of times, and basically tonight the motion would be to, adopt a ordinance number 1275, establishing a sanitary sewer collection system charge to provide funds for the sanitary sewer collection system in the amounts of $1.25 per 1,000 gallons for the year 2015, and then $1.50 per 1,000 gallon effective January 1st, 2016, and I would so move.
Second.
And that would be a resolution.
Is there any other discussion?
Will there be a review after 2015?
2016.
No, after 2015 to make sure that 2016, that extra quarter to $1.50 is sufficient? Or is it just going to be, okay.
If I can, when we had our workshop and talked about that, it sounded like the committee was recommending that we do a complete look at it in 2016 after 2 years to reevaluate where we're at with revenues, expenditures, projecting the cash flow, that type of thing. But also at the end of 2015, there was also discussion, at least about doing some kind of a financial report where at least we can identify what we have had for revenues, kind of if we're still on track with expenditures, and if we've got a positive balance or negative balance, that type of thing.
Any other questions?
Roll call.
Batten?
Yes.
Pritchett?
Yes.
Bevins?
Yes.
Sheeler?
Yes.
Borkenhagen?
Yes.
Cope?
Yes.
Parks?
Yes.
Item number 2 is storm sewer utility fee structure, and again, we're going in the direction of, and I'll let Jeff we're kind of going in the direction of revenues to cover expenses to eliminate city debt here. And so I'll let Jeff just quickly explain a little bit the direction we're going with the storm sewer.
Okay, if I can very briefly, Mr. President, in the memo, what I tried to get across is that, first off, we have a deficit in our storm sewer utility fund presently. After this year's construction projects, we're negative. Looking at our cash flow going forward, between our annual maintenance costs and our debt service for projects that were funded a number of years ago, it only gives us about somewhere between $10,000 and $30,000 per year to go into capital projects. As we look at our 5-year construction plan going forward, We know that we're going to have about $470,000 worth of storm sewer costs that right now are not funded. And we know that there's more than likely going to be additional projects unidentified at this point in time that are going to be resulting from changes in regulatory requirements with our MS4 permit, or else we're going to run into projects, I'm sure, where we're going to have good opportunities to to construct some BMPs with our stormwater system so that we can try to mitigate some future restrictions or requirements when the Upper Mississippi TMDL is completed, which is going to be, I think, 2018, 2019. TMDL, that's a total mass daily loading, so that's where the water's evaluated, there's certain deficiencies, and then we will probably be given some specific restrictions on the water quality we can discharge into public waters. That could require things like treatment, certainly testing, analysis, a variety of other expenses. So we wanted to try to get ourselves on a financial basis where we could not only fund the projects we know we've got programmed over 5 years, but also to give us an ability to take a look at these future projects. As we took a look at it, our current fee structure became apparent that right now residential properties at the base rate of $3 per parcel are paying a disproportionately high price based on the amount of impervious surface that they have. So staff took a look at what some other communities are doing and thought that a more equitable system would be to levy a fee structure based on the actual amount of runoff being generated by parcels. So that's a combination of area and impervious surface. We took a look at what Baxter's doing as a model, and through our looking at what we charge residential versus commercial projects, properties, it appears that the commercial properties are being undercharged by a factor of about 3 times. So in adjusting our per acre cost of impervious surface from about $9 to $27 per acre, that will do a number of things. It gets commercial properties contributing more equitably based on the proportion of runoff they're actually creating, and also that would generate about that $100,000 in revenues each year that are going to be required to fund the program storm sewer improvements within our 5-year capital plan. Discussion tonight in committee was, staff kind of needed some direction. Are we headed the right direction? Is there something else the committee and or council would like us to take a look at? Discussion in committee sounded favorable in terms of the direction that we are, that staff is recommending that we go with changing the rates. So with that, that's all staff would be looking for this evening is direction, whether or not we're on the right track, and then to move forward with developing an ordinance rewrite that would be required to amend our rate structure.
And with that, we did come up with a motion, but before I throw the motion out there, this also affects the pipe sizing on the commercial property. And then I want to mention that Chip was very proud of staff for working very hard on this, and that should be. But the motion would be to approve the concept and to bring it back to the next meeting.
Yeah, we can redraft an ordinance and try to have that back at the next meeting.
So that would be the motion to approve the concept at this meeting.
Second.
Is there other discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign, motion carries.
Item number 3, tree and alley at 1223 Mill Avenue. We did have the parties here. They spoke, and staff spoke, and we basically, the motion here would be just to send this to BPU. And, we can't tell them what to do, but we can ask them and to see what they will do. And basically, we'll bring it back to our first January meeting, which would be January 5th. That way, if it needs to go to the BPU board, they can ask their board too. So that would be the motion here, is just to send it to BPU.
It's my understanding, Mr. Chair, that we are sending it to them with the request that they either trim or remove the trees. That's my understanding of what we did in committee. And I will second that.
Is there other discussion? Okay, hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries.
Item number 4, Stephen Wolf's letter. Everybody got a copy of it. I was surprised that it came in a different language to the city, and then I guess the city moved it into the. But I can just let Jeff quickly update us on the letter that we received.
Quite honestly, in the format that we got the letter, I wasn't even sure if it was a real serious a serious issue or not. But after we converted it to English, we did consider the request in terms of signage and whether or not this is a hazardous situation. Quite frankly, from staff's perspective, for the few times that we've seen any parking on the bridge, it's not a frequent problem. In fact, I would not categorize it as being a problem whatsoever. We have one or two incidents where it may happen, but it just does not seem to be a problem or concern that, from staff's perspective, would warrant any additional signage or marking.
And on a committee, that was pretty much the same feeling Mary expressed and Chip, so there'd be no action. End of report.
Mr. Bevins, P&F.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Item number 1 has been dispensed with. Item number 2 is just an FYI. There are no payments to contractors at this meeting. Item number 3 is the purchase agreement for the industrial park lots. We've had this as part of our agenda in the past. Our city administrator is passing out a current version, a corrected version, which has a couple of corrections on. I'll let y'all get them. I'm just going to point out, or do you want to come with that? I'll just point out the highlights of the most recent changes. Up in the top 2 paragraphs on the first page is a correction with the quantity of acres to 8.57 acres in paragraph 1. In paragraph 2, also in paragraph 2 on the purchase price, the 81 cents, I believe, is a change in the parentheses, correct?
Yes, it is.
Yes.
Yep. Was there any other changes?
There was just clarifications to the written and the numerical identified for both that and the acreage there. Councilmember Matten, in between meetings, also brought up on page 2, the bottom of page 2 survey. It talks there about the 8.84 acreage, and that is because that encompasses the 4 lots and the cul-de-sac. And so that's the area they're talking about. So that number didn't have to be changed because they will be receiving that cul-de-sac.
Okay. So the motion is to approve the purchase agreement as you were just handed out.
Second.
Other discussion?
Thank Dolly and the rest for making those changes, because I made a call into city myself on those, so I appreciate this being done. Thanks.
I have a question. Has our attorney reviewed this?
He was intimately involved in the entire process.
Okay, so you're comfortable with the wording and all of that? And we're protected? City, okay. Thank you.
Any other questions?
Do I need to ask for 21? Just clarification.
Item number 20.
Motion should, if you'd like to make a friendly amendment.
All right. The question I had is number 21, the commissions to buyer's agent. Because we have it listed, it's unclear. To me, it looks like as though we're responsible for paying the buyer's agent, but we're also responsible for paying the listing agent. I just want to make sure that we're not double paying of the buyer side. So if we're paying the listing agent, they're responsible for paying the buyer. So although it's not clarified as to the percentage in here, it's technically, I could perceive this as thank you for paying the buyer's agent and thank you for the full commission. So I just want clarification. I think it's necessary or important for that to be clarified. That's all. Or it could be clarified in the listing, with the listing, and that might be the route to go.
So what we were talking about earlier was a friendly amendment to allow the maximum payment of 7%, and the distribution is...
Beautiful.
If that would be your friendly amendment?
That's what I would love, yes.
Yeah, absolutely. Just to clarify, we can just make it part of the original motion that item 21 is clarified to, let's see, maximum that the seller, which is the city, will pay a maximum of 7% commission.
What happened there was Connie and I worked together to find the original listing agreement from 2010, and that had more information that clarified that for us.
Any other comments? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries.
Thank you. Item number 4 is the city civil attorney contract. The motion is to approve what is presented in our packet.
Second?
And that dollar amount was 100 and...
If we can clarify, we will bring this back to the city council at the next meeting, if the
Yeah.
direction was to continue with the process.
Yes, I apologize. Was to continue with the process. We're not actually approving the contract because the contract,
See, there's a retainer.
yeah, right, does include dollars and cents for 2015, but there is going to be a review by the firm for 2016. What this does is allow us and our current city attorney to move forward with presenting a contract to bring it back to the city council. And I mention that because, if you recall, we kind of had a mid-year hiring of the contract based on our, I believe it's the charter says to do 2 years on the odd year. But we hired in mid-term of that. So we had 2014 covered. Now we need to do a 2-year deal. And while this doesn't include any of the details for 2016,
Okay.
we need to give them notice that we do want them to present for the next 2 years, which they'll do and come back and we'll approve or not. So
you
So
like
we
us
don't need
now?
a motion?
I am making a motion
okay.
to recommend to our current city attorney to prepare a 2-year contract presentation and bring it back to city council.
Okay.
And I second.
Seconded. Any other discussion? You want to defend yourself?
No, I don't think so. I have been happy providing services this year and would be happy to make a presentation for a 2-year renewal. Of course, it's always subject to the council's discretion. As the 2014 contract, you can terminate that at any time, but your charter does provide for a 2-year appointment process. So that's why we're looking at a 2-year contract period.
And I just want to say, I think you're doing a wonderful job. You're moving right along with us and staying with us and catching up with us and everything else and jumping in mid-season. You're doing a wonderful job up to now. I want to thank you for that.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries.
Thank you. Item number 5 is we have a personnel issue. I don't know, we have received details of it.
No, they have not.
Okay. I'm going to let SPW get it and remind everybody that what you're receiving, well, our administrator can certainly clarify this, but to remind you what you're receiving is confidential at this point. So you're going to get to look at it. I'm going to make a motion on it. You get to hand it back, and if the motion passes, then the information becomes public. If it doesn't, then it doesn't become public. So I'll let y'all get it, take a look at it, and remind you that at this point, this is what you're receiving is confidential, and to please hand it back in, and then I'll make the motion.
Second.
Well, yeah, we can't. Everybody's looked at it. So the motion is to approve staff's recommendation, and I so move.
Second.
Any other discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye. Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries.
Okay. I don't know how we make it.
I'll work on it. Yeah, we'll include it for the attorney.
Okay, so the attorney will decide how this gets made public. Item number 6, the police department authorization for police official conditional job offers. This is a little bit out of sequence as to how we normally do things, but I will move to approve staff's recommendation.
Second.
Any other discussion?
What is
Mr.
staff's recommendation?
Is we're going to be hiring two police officers that we don't know who they are yet, to bring us up to the, I believe it's 24, which is part of the COPS grant. I don't know if what we have to do to bring us up to the requirement. Thank you very much, Mr. Pritchett. And the reason this is sort of backwards is because the Civil Service Commission doesn't meet until I think it's Wednesday or Thursday. Yeah.
December 8th.
Yeah, December 8th is when they'll be meeting, thank you. And so we're approving their recommendations ahead of time, so as not to delay the offering.
Mr. President?
Yeah.
And I probably won't vote for this, and I'll just tell you the reasons why. I have, really worked on this issue, and we've been creeping up, and I've had meetings on this, we've been creeping up on our cost with the police department to a point which is the lion's share of our levy. And I have a problem that we budget 100% of our, LGA and everything into personnel. And, and that LGA bounces around like a yo-yo. So, 1 year you're going to make some cuts, 1 year you're going to add some employees, and, the uncertainties, and I don't like seeing our budget 100%, budgeted just in personnel. And I feel, and I would like to look at this at another, if we can reduce, and I know we have a grant, but I looked at the cost of the grant, and, there would still be some benefits. So, to me, I want to spend more time on this issue. I am not going to support going up to the 27 at one time or the 24. I believe that we can go less and still, because of the technology that we have and, looking at comparable cities. So I'm going to be saying no to this.
Any other discussion? Holly?
Two things, and I did want to bring that up, that it was because we do need to fulfill the 24 obligation for the grant, and that 24 is what is currently in our budget. But if you could clarify, Connie, again, why we're requesting, it's kind of switched, and maybe I think everybody needs to know the reason why.
According to the website, there are 8 other cities that are also trying to hire police officers, and so the purpose of asking council to do the conditional job offers before the list is certified by the Civil Service Commission is so that we get the best quality candidates that we can get, so that when they meet on the 8th, that we can make the conditional job offer and don't have to wait for another week in case those people get employment during that week or 2 week time period.
Okay.
I have a question.
I'm sorry.
How long have we been without 24?
In the last 3 years during Corky's budget presentations this year, I think I heard him say it at half a dozen times, that we've only been at 24 for 2 weeks in that 3-year period.
Okay, you're going to have to clarify this a little bit for me. The COPS grant requires that we have at least 24 officers.
That is correct.
So in the last 6 months, have we had 24 officers?
No, ma'am.
Not at any time?
We've been working towards that, but there were, if you recall, the passing away of a police officer.
Right,
There were
right.
individuals that didn't make it through their probationary period. So
Right.
we've been working constantly towards that. We have a limited number of field training officers, so that we can take on it. So we have 2 of those that take on employees or do the training process. So yes, we've been working towards it, but we've always, in the last 6 months, to your question, not had 24 officers at this time.
And how does the COPS grant personnel, whoever they are, why haven't they come after us?
We have been reviewing the grant. I want to say it's 28 pages. Our understanding is that they will do that at the end, Commissioner.
The end of what?
There's a 3-year period where they fund us.
Okay.
And then after the 4th year, when we fund the position, it's my understanding, we have to do an audit. So they will analyze it, and the police chief has reviewed what other cities have done, and when they were deficient, there was a process that they had to work through with the cops grant.
Where are we at now?
So-
Whereabouts in that 3-year
If you
cycle?
recall Connie's presentations and the chief's presentations, they indicated that our funding would run out in end of June, so 6 months of this year, or we still have the grant proceeds. Now, if you recall, it was only like $25,000 for this year. In previous years, it had been the higher amounts because that's the way they fund it. So starting in the July 1st of this year through June 31st of next year, June 30th of next year, that will be our year of funding the position, is my understanding. And so at that point in time is when we would then required to do an audit, and they would look at all the numbers to see if we complied, or what we're going to hope is explain to them that we tried, we had deaths happen, we had people leave, and we were constantly advertising and filling the position so that we shouldn't feel we're hoping that we don't.
If we were to support this tonight, could we do it with the caveat that this position will end June 15th of 2015? I'm just saying, is that an option?
This position, or that the staff complement would go to a lower number?
That the staff complement would go to a lower number? I guess either way.
2015 or 2000?
I thought you said 2015 it would run out.
Sorry. No, June of 2015 is when
The grant
it
funding
ends.
runs out.
Then we have to start doing the 1 year to July of 16.
Okay, so our obligation begins June of 15.
Where we pay 100%,
Right,
yes.
right. And
To
it's,
July of 16.
okay, and it's 100% of whatever is required to keep the complement at 24.
Correct. My understanding, yes.
Okay. I have a lot of empathy in this case with what Councilmember Sheeler is saying. As you do review that budget, it is humongous. And I think anytime we get into public safety, I suspect we're all terribly biased in favor of it. And genuinely so. I don't mean that as in a flip way. Genuinely so. Public safety is absolutely crucial. But I think because of that, we are not as we hesitate sometimes to look at those positions with a critical eye and to make some honest attempts on defining need. What do we need to keep our community safe? I believe that we need a complete revision or way of looking at all of our staffing. And I'm hoping that after the first of the year, and I mean no offense to any current council member, but simply that this is December and we're all pretty busy right now at Christmas and so on. But I think we need a complete look at our staffing in the city and what we can do and what we can't do and where our priorities lay. The kind of discussion we really have never had, or certainly not for a long time. And I think that if we were a private sector company, we would do that because they have to do it. You're always reading in the paper, 3M lays off, Target lays off, because as Councilmember Sheeler points out, personnel is our big expense. And we keep adding all of the bells and whistles for IT and computers and all of that, and yet our personnel costs continue to rise. And I'm sure I'm not the only one who sometimes gets a little puzzled by that. I don't know. I would really like to see it tabled and take a look at trying to do something on our total staffing within the city. It might be we'd end up with more. I don't think so. But I think that it's an exercise that we need to do. And I do think Councilmember Sheeler, who has taken a an active role because he was asked to be our liaison with our negotiations, has come to his conclusions based on some hard study, and I don't mean to be putting words in your mouth, but that's what I thought. I think it should be discussed more, really.
Any other discussion? Okay, the motion, go ahead.
Yeah, I was just going to suggest that maybe we, if this is the time, I agree with Mrs. Cope and Mr. Sheeler. If this is the time, now then now's the time, and let's not do this. On the other side of the coin, I'm a little bit concerned that you might that maybe the time was when we accepted the COPS grant, which we did, and now we have the obligation that fulfills compliance with the grant. If you think that this isn't what we wanted, then let's prepare for the fact that we're not going to fulfill the COPS grant, which might include realizing that this might include some penalties. I don't know that, but you almost have two issues here, and so I'm not necessarily speaking in favor. I'm just or against. I'm just suggesting that if you're dead set against having this number of employees in the police department, maybe now is the time that you want to do it, or maybe you do want to do it. I've generally voted against every tabling on the planet, but maybe now is what you want. That's what you want to do. You want to create one issue out of two. So.
And I'll just add to that, in the budget, in 2011, the police department was at $2.4 million, and in the budget now, they're $2.778 million. It's crept up since 2011 at about $100,000 a year. And I don't know what the grant has given us, but I'm just looking at this, and like I said, we only levied $4.4 million to the taxpayers' house. And, you're looking at eventually the LGA being a yo-yo. I don't want to hurt police officers putting them on, and then next year the LGA has gotten sitting here looking at this and saying, okay, we put you on, now we got to take you off. Put you on, take you off just by, the LGA is not something that you count on, and I think that was the direction that I would like to see the city look at this LGA and kind of know for sure what we're dealing with, because, it's harder for me to cut than to say no now.
But on the other hand, since we don't know what the penalty would be, since we've only been there for a couple of weeks, I mean, the penalty could be paying back for two officers.
Shouldn't we find that out?
But
Shouldn't we find that out before we just proceed?
cost of an officer is about $80,000 minimum, and
Plus
it sounds like the
benefits.
grant is only $25,000 per officer.
No, sir, that's not what I said.
Oh, okay. Maybe help me out on that.
What we said is that we received the very last portion this year for $25,000. We can have Connie get the exact dollars, or maybe she has a ballpark of what those numbers were. I don't know. Like,
We've been getting the grant money, but each time we submit it, we pay for part of the officer. But for 2 years, they pay 75, we pay 25%. We are responsible for paying the final year. It's a 3-year grant, if I'm not mistaken. And the total grant was, I can't remember off the top of my head. I know it was hundreds of thousands, at least 100,000, if not 200,000. I can't remember off the top of my head. And so we have been paying this back. We get, I think there's 25,000 that's in the budget for 2015, and then we need to pay that 3rd year of the officer.
2 officers.
We only get it for 1 officer. We're trying to hire 2 to get us up to the 24 sworn officers.
But according to the COPS grant, we'd only need to hire 1?
No, we need to have 24 sworn
Okay,
officers.
we need to have total.
And currently, we only have 22 sworn officers. And so we're requesting to make a conditional offer to 2 police officers based on the Civil Service Commission that's going to meet on December 8th.
And that was my hiccup, was the fact that tremendous cost for the return of the grant.
Another consideration is looking at this, not having those 2 officers, we're also talking overtime. So, by not hiring them, not only are we looking at the possible penalties from that COPS grant, we're still going to be continuing to pay overtime to make sure that everything is covered, which is a considerable amount of money from last discussions we've had on overtime also.
Maybe this is the time to bring it up, but I had a meeting with Patrick and Corky and Connie and Chris, and we talked about the airport. And we looked at the airport right now, which is in Oakland Township. Our police officers are covering that airport, and we're getting no help from the county. And our overtime that we are creating, which was 305 hours in 1 year, which I added up, of overtime that we just had out at the airport, we received only $20 from TSA as a replacement for what an officer costs us 45. That's hard 45. That's not their benefits on top. So I brought this up to Patrick. Patrick said he would take a look at it, but I was looking at that issue alone. And, there's something that, we should be looking at other avenues, getting the county involved, helping us out at the airport because we're carrying the full load. This big brother thing with Brainerd, and we are a big brother for a lot of things, has to come to an end sooner or later because we can't continue carrying the load, and we are. And I feel also, I'm going to go right back to the canine. The county doesn't have no canines, so I feel there's another issue that we're paying all the overtime on canines, and that's where the county should have a regional dog.
I'd like to keep our
Yeah.
discussion just on the 2 officers.
But,
Yeah.
Mr. Chair, the overtime, I don't think it would be reduced by having 2 more officers, because a big amount of the overtime that, at least as I recall, the information we've gotten has to do, an officer has to go to court. Now, they can't just send some other officer. If an officer is involved in an arrest and it goes to court, that's the officer that has to go there. And if he's called in, I believe the same is true of the canine officer. And although we should keep the comments on this, I have asked our attorney to look at the contract that we have with the canine, because I think, I don't want to come next year in August or September when we start budget and find that once again we're looking at 10-12% increase. Now is the time to look at what we're doing and what changes we can make. Now is the time. And I think we need to review all of our staffing, what it does, what it doesn't. Maybe it'd be cheaper to pay back COPS grant. I don't know. But the larger issue is the need. The larger issue is the need. And I will absolutely agree with that. But I don't think we've ever had that discussion or even asked the right questions to determine that. So,
Patrick?
Yeah, I guess I'm going to back up a little bit and talk more philosophical. I apologize, but we've been working on the budget since July. We've had discussions with City Council on staffing. The police made their presentation along with all the other departments. We knew there was a staffing shortage almost since the day I've been here. We've talked to council about refilling the different positions. We went to Sue's in the audience, and she's been on the Civil Service Commission, had them recertify the process. We looked at different alternatives. Chris and Connie can make any comments that we've been working on this together. We've been going down this path saying we need 24 officers, we need 24 officers. Councilmember Cope earlier tonight said that she and Mr. Sheeler have been doing homework, but the staff didn't get asked any of these questions to prepare to bring this to you tonight, so I'm not sure why we've been excluded in this conversation for tonight, because we'd be willing to provide all that data. We have all that data if we would just been asked that question. And so now we're asking, in a week we have our budget presentation that we've been planning 24 officers, and then in 2 weeks you're going to be asked to adopt the budget. Yes, I agree that if there was a question about staffing, we should have those discussions, but for this current budget, we've had months worth of discussions. And that's all philosophical. I'll go into that.
In all fairness, I did mention it to you, Patrick, so on my end, I am not doing any homework with anybody else on this issue lately.
One more question. I guess, just looking at it, the motion was just to give the opportunity to potentially hire the best candidates, considering there's so many cities out there looking for police officers. This is giving us the opportunity to make job offers. That's what the motion is at this point. And I have to concur with what you just said, Patrick, in regard to we've had this opportunity to ask these questions, to find out the information in regard to what would it cost the city if we had to pay it back. But now we're getting to the timeline where if we say no to this, that eliminates the potential of us offering or making a job offer to two very qualified, maybe the best qualified police officers prior to the next meeting in December 15th. Whatever changes the city council decides to do next year, that's for next year. This affects next week. And I guess I'm struggling with why this conversation is happening right now, based off the motion is merely to find the two best candidates. If you opt next year not to have two police officers, that's city council's decision for next year or the year following. But by then, even within the next week, I would think that staff would be able to provide what the repercussions would be if we had to pay the COPS grant back. And you would have that, I would assume, and I'm only going to ask staff, I would think that we could potentially have that information before our budget meeting next Monday as to what the repercussions might be. I don't want to put that undue stress on staff if we can't get that information, but it might be readily available. I don't know.
We weren't able to find it.
Okay.
I have just one question, then. If we authorize it, you're saying that we can lay these people off, which I said it's easier not to authorize than going to the layoff process, and that's why the discussion is tonight. I'm not going to support something that down the road I'm going to turn around and start picking people to leave the city. So I'm going to stay firm on this and not send the wrong signal.
By me? Just like to make it, I concur with what she just mentioned about we need to move ahead. I think, number one, it gives us an advantage to look at the candidates. There's 8 other cities that are looking at candidates. Even if we were to pick maybe the 2 best candidates, offer them a job, it doesn't mean that, number one, they're going to accept it, number 2, that they would pass or to be able to begin their employment here. But I think that in all honesty and in respect for our police department, we have committed to having 24 officers. Until we change that, I think that we need to move ahead, go ahead and allow the police civil service to look through the candidates, to offer those positions, and then, as mentioned, to look at it next year, but not tonight. We've got the issue that's before us here, and I appreciate the other concerns, but I think that we do need to move ahead on this. Thank you.
Chip?
Just to chime in, I think also that they are 2 separate issues. If we made a commitment to for 24 officers previously, that's like an agreement. That's a commitment, and it just seems like we should. We said we're going to do something. We need to stick with what we have agreed to. The other aspect of it, I hear what my 2 fellow counselors to the right of me are saying. There could very well be some issues in the budget for the police department that could use some, maybe even major tweaking. One of the things that has been brought up is the fact that, we're asked to take on an awful lot of information in a short amount of time. And sometimes for those of us who are right brain challenged, it takes a while to see some of the details. So you know, on the one hand, I agree that we should move forward with this tonight, but on the other hand, that can't preclude us from getting the magnifying glass out and taking a good hard look at a lot of the details that are particularly in this budget because of the fact that it is so, you know, it's half of our.
Any other discussion?
Yeah.
And I can see what Mr. Sheeler's saying, you know, it is hard to cut, but anybody we offer the job to, this is all public information. We know they will know that we've discussed it if they've looked into it at all. And then we can allow them to make the choice under those circumstances.
I'd like to do a roll call.
Patton,
Yes.
Pritchett,
Yes.
Evans,
Yes.
Sheeler,
No?
Morgenhagen,
Yep.
Coe,
No.
Parks.
Yes.
5 to 2. But now we need to.
Mr. Bevins, we're on number 7.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. Is it still Monday? Item number 7, Engineering Department, move to approve ratification of the IT staffing assistance in a 1-year trial period conceptual approval that was given on 11/24, approval thereof, and I so move.
Second.
Any questions?
Mr. Chair, there is a memo that came out with this supporting the memorandum of understanding with the union that we just got this evening as part of this motion is approval of that memorandum of understanding.
All in favor?
Mr. Chair,
Oh,
wait.
yep, I'm
Now,
sorry.
this reflects the approximate $11,000 increase in our IT budget.
Yes, ma'am.
So it's,
Yes, Mrs. Coe.
I didn't
sorry.
see any figures, so I'm assuming that it's the same. Okay.
Correct. We did not include that level of detail in this memorandum because we had talked about it previously.
Okay, just
so
wanted to be sure.
That's a very
Thank
good
you.
clarification.
Thank you.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries.
Thank you. Item number 8 was a consent calendar item on deferring some assessments. And item number 9 is the administrative specialist, Jennifer Lloyd Holt, also a consent calendar item moving to step D, or 100% of the base wage. And there is no other. End of report.
Thank you. Number 10, unfinished business, which we've already. Is that different? Is that the same thing? That's the approval for the purchase agreement?
It is the same thing.
Okay, so we've already done that. Planning Commission.
I guess if I could just state on that,
Yep.
what we wanted to make sure that there was complete transparency to the public because it was on the P&F agenda, and sometimes people don't know to look under the different committee agendas, and that way if we have it on the regular agenda, they're seeing it on there. So I apologize for that.
Oh,
Good idea.
Yeah. It was a significant issue. We didn't want anybody to think we were sliding a sale of 9 acres at $60,000 as a positive. I guess we want to hit in the press as many times as we possibly can.
Right.
Could I ask a question relative to that, Mr. Chair?
Sure.
And I suspect it's on everybody's mind, but when we actually have the cash in our sweaty little hands, can we?
My hands are actually kind of clear.
Can we? We need to have some discussion on where that money will go. And I believe the council needs to be heavily involved in that discussion. So I just want to lay that out, because that's a nice chunk of change. And certainly, it appears to be close enough that we can consider that before we adopt our budget.
The actual transfer of dollars won't happen until, we believe, till the spring. So and yes is the answer. As I said earlier, we want to get you the complete history of all the discussions of where the money came from to buy the land, where the money came from to do the improvements, the payments that we have left ahead of us. We want to get you all those details, but yes, you will definitely, the city council will be making that decision.
Thank you.
Can I add one more thing? The due diligence will start once the purchase agreement, I mean, they still are in their due diligence process until
Okay.
closing.
So that's
So,
a while
you
yet.
know, you still have the uncertainties just for the public to know, just because they signed purchase agreement.
Right, and I think the discussion with the council was that we didn't want to count that money in the budget because there's so
still-
many things that can happen with that. So it's wise just to consider it a gift if it should take place, but in the meantime, don't depend on it. I think that's the responsible thing to do.
Okay, it's 9:15 and we have a public hearing for the final reading of ordinance number 1423, an ordinance providing for the annexation of certain properties located in Oak Lawn Township, Crow Wing County, to the city of Brainerd, Crow Wing County, Minnesota. And so we have a public hearing. And do we have anybody here? State your name and
If you'll take my advice, you'll put it in the fire department. My name is William Durham. I'm a Oakland Township Supervisor. And we got notified of this by registered mail here a few weeks ago. And I guess as a board, we didn't take any, our position was we weren't going to oppose it or speak against it, and just let the council know that we have concerns that maybe hopefully this isn't. We just have concerns about the ongoing and continuing loss of tax base and land in Oak Lawn, I guess, would be the main thing, I guess. So that would be just about it, I guess, for the most part. It's my understanding this is the final reading then. This will be adopted tonight then, if I'm interpreting this correctly then? Okay.
Right.
Was there any other readings before this? Or is this the only one?
Yes.
Okay, that's what I was curious about. Okay.
Yes.
All right, thank you.
okay.
Thanks, Bill.
Is there anybody else? Oh, okay. Just state your name and address.
Yes, I'm Sharon Pike, and reside on Jordan Road in Oak Lawn Township. And I, too, am not in any opposition to this. If the private property owner wants to annex into the city, that's perfectly fine, his discretion. My concern lies in perhaps why he feels that he may have to. I understand that he wants to build on this property and needs to hook up to sewer and water. And my understanding, and I may be incorrect, but what I understood from what a staff member explained to me is that they would have to, as well as other residents along that Wonderland Park Road, that their septic systems become non-conforming. I guess my concern is in that policy itself, because in essence, if he wants to build there, he has to be annexed into the city. I know I'm in Oak Lawn Township and receive Brainerd Public Electricity, which I greatly appreciate as we move out towards the airport. My concern as a resident off of Highway 210 going out to the airport is that someday I will be forced into annexation as well when sewer and water, if it ever does, become available. I like the fact that there's sewer and water on Wonderland Park Road to protect our waters and the lake. I also have a concern, as though it appears to me, and I am not an expert on this at all, that the city code is a little less restrictive than the county is, and we have had some annexation along the Piney Shores Road in Oak Lawn Township that are on Rice Lake because they wanted to perhaps build closer to the lake than the county would allow, so they asked for annexation into the city. And as a resident of Oak Lawn Township, that is my concern as well. I would like the city code to be as restrictive as the county is. That's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anybody else? Anybody else for public hearing? Seeing none, I'll close the public hearing at 9:19.
Mr. Chair?
Yes.
Move to hold the final reading of ordinance number 1423.
Second.
Any other discussion? Hearing none, roll call.
Nope.
No?
Not yet.
Not on this one.
Next one.
Okay. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries.
Mr. Chair?
Yes.
Move to adopt ordinance number 1423.
Is there a second?
Second.
Sally.
Okay.
Now you
Okay,
can
roll call.
Matten?
Yes.
Pritchett?
Yes.
Bevins?
Yes.
Sheeler?
Yes.
Morkenhagen?
Yes.
Pope?
Yes.
Parks?
Yes.
Motion carries. Okay, it is 9:20. It's a public forum. This is time allocated for citizens to bring matters not on the agenda to the attention of the council. Time limits may be imposed. Is there anybody here for public forum? Anybody here for public forum? Seeing none, I'll close the hearing at 9:20. Or public forum at 9. Okay. Staff reports. Anybody have any staff reports in addition to your written? Okay. Well, Mr. Mayor?
Just, if I may, just a couple comments besides my written report. I hope everybody had the opportunity. It was a beautiful day the other day for shopping locally, and I'd like to thank the downtown people as well, and businesses and that and the Parks Department for the decoration and for the sleigh rides, and for allowing me to light up the beautiful Christmas tree at 4 o'clock. It was kind of hard to see the lights come on, but they were bright later on that night. So with that, I just want to thank him and remind people to shop locally, because what they spend locally stays locally. And we're fortunate to have the shops and businesses that we do downtown. And so with that, thank you.
Jane, if I might remind you of one item that you talked to me about that I wasn't in favor of, that you said you were going to bring up under your items.
Which one was that?
Christmas Eve.
Oh. You want me to bring it up or just not? Okay. Well, we have another meeting before Christmas Eve, don't we?
Yes, sir, you do.
Can I
bring it up twice then?
Or not at all? Or not at all?
Would you like me to summarize it?
What
Jane?
is this about?
My apologies, Council. Historically, the city of Brainerd has allowed employees Christmas Eve afternoon off. James and I had a conversation about putting this on the agenda, and I prefer...
Long conversation, Mr. Administrator.
And I guess I was opposed to Christmas Eve off, as it was, I felt something that should be discussed in a separate setting. That being said, Brainerd does have a long history of approving that for the employees. But that was a general concept of our conversation, and I want to say I provided James, I should have given you a hard copy, James, I'm sorry.
Oh, that's right.
Email. I think since 2001, we identified that that's some 12 years, I think. The history has been any day that it's not a Saturday or Sunday, there was some time allocated to all city employees, and if they had to work, like the police or the fire, they were given 3.5 hours of comp time. And we can provide more details to make it clear to the city council if they'd like to have that discussion.
Okay.
I would appreciate that.
Yeah,
And I would like total cost on like what you just came up with.
Why don't, if I may, as long as you kind of ask, we roughly figured between $7,000 and $10,000 is what it costs the city for the wages and that for those 3.5 hours that they would have off. Am I pretty correct on that, Mr.
Yes, sir.
Director?
We can, as the council asked, we can provide additional information, the history that we provide, we did generate, and some cost factors. Or if there was any other questions, we'd be able to do that. We do have a history of years from 2001 to present to council. It's been approved by the city council on consent agenda, typically in October or November of every year, and it wasn't on the agenda, and James asked me why, and that's why it's being discussed now.
So can you put it on the agenda then for the 15th?
Love to.
And I apologize but I knew we talked about it, but I was thinking more of the next.
When is the next date? Next council date would be the 14th?
Yeah,
Yeah.
the
Budget meeting.
We have
Budget.
we have
Okay.
the 8th, which
Yeah.
is a public hearing, and then
So we have a
the
couple
15th.
meetings, okay.
If you like, we could actually discuss it on the 8th.
Yep.
Let's do it both times.
Okay.
Part of the budget anyway.
Okay, do you have anything else to add, Mr. Administrator?
No,
Can I add one thing? It's actually was a staff thing, and I hope it's okay if I can take a second to read this, but I think it's important for council to hear. May I?
Is that the one about the
Yes.
James and I are actually talking, I did give it to all council members. We're thinking about an award and maybe having them come before the city council kind of thing.
I just wanted to, I guess.
Go ahead.
I think it'd be good.
I guess I just wanted to express the importance of why the city does certain things, as why there is a inspector. But if you want to wait until.
Again, if we can get more press all about the good things each and every time,
Okay.
we'll do it 10 times.
All right. I do want to read this because it was very heartwarming. This was an email sent from a resident of Brainerd, and she states, and I'll spare her name, but she says, I wanted to take a moment to say thank you for your rental inspector. Last spring, he was out and inspected my daughter's rental on Mill Avenue and made the landlord put up a carbon monoxide detector. My daughter, her fiancé, and my 6-year-old grandson were over for Thanksgiving last Thursday and then went home. Their carbon monoxide detector went off at 1:45 a.m. After some arguing over whether it could be a dead battery, they arrived at my house. My grandson stayed with me while they called 911 and met the fire department at their home. The carbon monoxide level was 220 in the furnace room at that point. The gas company was called out and the house was cleared. The furnace was fixed the next day. If it weren't for your inspector, I would probably be planning funerals instead of buying Christmas presents. No words can express the gratitude I feel. So I just feel that the public as well as staff needs to know that although there are problems sometimes with that $35 rental inspection, and there's chaos every year when somebody doesn't pay it, and the frustration of, why do we have to do this? This is exactly why we do this. And I just have to commend council that they actually adopted and actually hired staff to be able to do these inspections. And the importance of having an inspector, this is the reason why it's important. Just wanted to clarify.
If I may follow up on that, I think that one statement that you read in there says it all, where instead of being able to celebrate, which they did, he would have had to plan for 3 funerals. And the carbon monoxide was so bad that they would have died during the night. And this is 1:45 in the morning when the alarm went off. So that small investment, and I say a small investment for carbon dioxide, which was supposed to be required for that home, saved 3 lives. You can't put a dollar value on that, nor the grief and the anguish. So I appreciate you bringing that up, Dolly. And we just got that, and I do plan on making, and talking to our administrator, a recognition for Scott for doing and following up with what he was hired to do to make certain that these things are done, and they're done for a purpose. We're not harassed or to say, hey, we're big brother, you do as I say. It's for their own good, not that we care about the people that live in our city, and one of the things is to keep them from dying in a house because of carbon monoxide or other reasons. So, thank you again, Donnie.
Okay, and number 15, committee resignation accept with regret.
So move.
Second. All in favor, say aye. Opposed, same sign, motion carries.
Could I bring up just one item under that?
Okay.
We just received today an application. Thank goodness. We received an application for an individual that would like to serve on that, and that is one of the items that we want to find replacements for. So, and that'll be coming before us to the next council.
Okay.
So we got some bad news and good news. And the good news came after the bad news. So.
Okay.
Never mind.
Does anybody have anything else?
I would just note that after you adjourn to the closed session, we will be coming out of closed session to take action possibly on 2 contracts.
Okay. So we're going to be adjourning to closed session, and also to tomorrow night at Garfield Elementary School. It's a TAP meeting for safe routes to school. And then a week from today, the budget public hearing.
We'll get it now.
So, with that being said,